Chapter 1799 Space Tremor. Gui looked at Zhang Yi and the others who had suddenly appeared in front of him and stood still in silence. However, behind him, the earth roared violently. Huge legions of mechanical life forms arrived like a torrent of steel. Seeing the tens of thousands of mechanical life forms, Liang Yu did not utter a single word, only using her thumb to pick Dragon's Roar up. Clang! The sound of the sword was cold. They had already mastered the means to counter the defense force field, so this battle would not be as laborious as before. What's more, even if Zhang Yi wasn't counted here, there were still 4 Epsilon-level combatants. However, immediately afterward, a shocking change occurred in front of them. Boom! Boom! The vibration of the earth became stronger and stronger, and then surprisingly, 4 super-large mechanical life forms once again crawled out from beneath the ground. A total of 5 super-large mechanical life forms crowded all of Zhang Yi and the others' field of vision, and those 5 huge mechanical platforms were like a steel city standing in front of them. Deng Shentong's pupil could not help but dilate and contract again. How could so many ultra-large mechanical life forms suddenly appear? These mega-mechanical life forms could all possess combat power comparable to the Epsilon level. Even though there was a way to crack their defensive force field, their own power should not be underestimated. Zhang Yi, however, said indifferently, all of this is just to be expected. Ever since he saw the images of that battle in Karen City, Zhang Yi had maximized the battle power of the Mechanical Legion in his mind. That was why he wasn't panicked in the slightest. Karen! Zhang Yi shouted Lu Karen's name. Private Lu Karen, step forward. Loyalty, honesty. With an elfin and eccentric look on her face, Lu Karen stood out in her camouflage combat uniform and gave a military salute towards Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi smiled, it's finally time for you to play. Lu Karen nodded, then Zhang Yi took the Snow Owl mech out from amongst dimensional space, and Lu Karen entered the cockpit. Deng Shentong said in disbelief, Chaos, you're letting Ms. Lu drive this small and cute thing to fight those 5 huge monsters? Are you two having some sort of conflict? It was no wonder that Deng Shentong felt that Zhang Yi and Lu Karen had a grudge. Although he had seen how powerful the Snow Owl was, he knew better how terrifying these oversized mechanical life forms were. One-on-one, there might still be room to maneuver. But 1-on-5, fighting with their heads? Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow and said to Deng Shentong, excuse me, who told you the Snow Owl was a gadget? He laughed coldly. Do you think that the mecha that I spent a lot of resources and invested an entire aircraft carrier battle group with countless precious materials to build is that unbeatable? Although Zhang Yi was smiling, there was still a look of flesh pain on his face. Because he had promised Lu Karen to build the super mecha, it had indeed made him consume a large amount of materials. And the broken repairs after the battle was another large amount of supplies. Even he could not turn a blind eye to it. Deng Shentong was still puzzled, but Zhang Yi didn't say anything, only that from among the dimensional gate, a huge pillar slowly appeared. Deng Shentong looked at the steel pillar, and at first, he did not know what it was, only feeling that its construction was very precise. But as it slowly revealed its full appearance, Deng Shentong's eyes widened. A large snow owl. A mega mecha that was more than 300 meters tall with a body that looked delicate and light. This. Deng Shentong looked dumbfounded. The members of the Volt Shadow Troop hadn't seen this before either, and one by one, their eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Zhang Yi said, there can't be anyone who really thinks that something 5 meters tall can be called a mecha, right? That's nothing more than a lightweight battle mech. And the true battlefield destruction mecha, is it? Zhang Yi tilted his head up to look at the huge snow owl. This is the real war machine. Even Gui's eyes were surprised when he saw this gigantic mech, and a look of surprise appeared amongst his eyes. The level of civilization is rising. He murmured in a low voice. You guys help Karen and go take care of those mechanical legions. Let me deal with this fellow. Zhang Yi gave the order once again as he could already see Gui was about to make an attack. The dimensional gates cascaded open, directly sending everyone away from their original location. The huge scorpion tail behind Gui's back was aimed at Zhang Yi, and a red crystal emitted a dazzling light, followed by a terrifying energy cannon that instantly penetrated through space and shot towards Zhang Yi. The entire sky was reflected in red, but Zhang Yi did not move at all. The everything under heaven dimensional gate blocked in front of him, absorbing all of that massive energy. Very strong. Zhang Yi made a judgment. But it's within the absorption range. All the energy was swallowed up cleanly, and the Gui who saw this scene finally appeared to have a different look in his eyes. A higher-level creature against a lower-level creature should have been as easy as a human crushing an ant. But this time, he was actually blocked by his opponent's attack. It's not over yet. Zhang Yi opened his palm at him. Full counterattack. How the energy cannons were shot, how they bounced back from among the dimensional gate in the next instant. Gui raised his left hand, and an invisible wall instantly unfolded in front of him, completely blocking the force. In their first encounter, both of them had pulled their defenses up to full capacity, and neither of them had taken any advantage. However, not far away, the Volt Shadow Troop and other mutants were already fighting the mechanical mutant army. Liu Karen was piloting a giant snow owl and directly got up close and personal to fight with the 5 ultra-large mechanical lifeforms. Engineered mega-mechanical lifeforms were not prepared specifically for combat, so their flexibility was not high enough. The snow owl wouldn't be stupid enough to rush into the middle of 5 mega-mechanical lifeforms, but rather choose one and directly fight close to it. The defensive force field was completely useless in the face of Steel Bone Iron Fist, and Snow Owl's fist was aimed at its joints, and it slammed down with one vicious punch after another. Rumble. After a few punches, it directly smashed one of the oversized mechanical lifeform's mechanical arm hard from its shoulder. Then it grabbed the other mechanical arm of the super-large mechanical lifeform with one arm, and the energy furnace in its chest began to condense powerful Yuan energy cannons. The oversized mechanical lifeform sensed the energy attack and immediately formed a defensive force field in front of its body. Liu Karen sat in the cockpit with an excited look on her face, her hands constantly operating as if she were playing a keyboard. Just waiting for you. 2 missiles shot out from the shoulders of the giant snow owl, causing a direct eruption near the defensive force field, releasing a kind of shockwave that countered the defensive force field, instantly tearing it apart. Then, the meta-energy cannon was fired directly at its head, fiercely. This scene was almost like shoving the barrel of a gun into its mouth, and the close-range blast caused the oversized mechanical lifeform's torso to instantly shatter, sending metal shards flying about. Boom! 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 Behind them, the attacks from the other oversized mechanical lifeforms came, landing heavily on the back of the giant snow owl. The giant snow owl shook violently, but the damage done to its back wasn't great. As Liu Karen's brainchild, the battlefield mega-robot, its defense could withstand a direct missile bombardment. The giant snow owl flung the half-ruined super-large mechanical lifeform with great force, only to hear a rumble. With a sound, it collapsed to the ground, sending up a cloud of smoke and dust. Snow Owl raised its right arm high, and a long sword blade popped out of it, catching. A sound penetrated its torso. These super-large mechanical lifeforms, Liu Karen had been studying them for so long, and had long since studied their combat patterns and breakdowns to a T. So she effortlessly and directly destroyed one. And around them, Lian Yu, Flower, and Deng Shintong weren't idle either, darting across the battlefield, destroying one mechanical lifeform after another as fast as they could. Zhang Yi wasn't the least bit worried about the battle over there. They had studied all the other various types of mechanical lifeforms. Only this humanoid black demon god in front of him was still unclear about its true nature. Among his left eye, the ability of the second hand of time had already been activated. Unlike Prophet Emperor Indra, whose ability was to prophesize and spy on people, his ability lost its effect on non-living organisms. However, Zhang Yi's the second hand of time foresees everything that will happen in the next 3 seconds of time. Everything that was going to happen in the next 3 seconds of time. Therefore, he could accurately judge his opponent's next attack. Gui's first attack failed, which made him a bit surprised, but then, he raised the curved blade in his hand, and the red energy crystals gradually erupted into a dazzling light, and then the sword slashed down fiercely at Zhang Yi. A more powerful force than before erupted violently, and that huge red-colored torrent was like the sky dome crumbling and the heavenly river raging down from the sky. Zhang Yi stood still. This powerful attack still did not cause any cracks to appear in everything under heaven. The attack power is good. Purely in terms of the strength of the attack, it might have reached the level of 32,000 points. However, just this is not enough to break my defense. Zhang Yi's heart already basically had a number. When Gui's attack ended, he also started his own counterattack. With just a single lift of his hand, he aimed a fierce grip at Gui. Divine Realm Netherworld Cleansing. An indiscriminate attack, without any sign of the attack first. There was no way to break this move other than hard resistance. As soon as the move went down, it was as if the space around Gui was gripped tightly by a large hand, ruthlessly squeezing it towards the center. Zhang Yi saw his body violently undergo a slight deformation, as if he was being clutched by a giant's hand. But in the next moment, those red-colored crystals on his body erupted with an intense light. Gui struggled hard. The force binding his body was broken away fiercely. The defense is also very strong. No wonder it would leave Fremon's pantheons helpless, offense and defense in one, with hardly any obvious weaknesses. He smiled faintly. However, I don't believe that you really don't have any weaknesses. The divine refinement spears in his right hand transformed into two large spears in an instant, which were held in Zhang Yi's palm. Black holes of the void surfaced behind him, and the power of the void spread to the guns, drenching them in black. In the next moment, a raging rain of bullets stormed towards Gui. In the face of Zhang Yi's attack, Gui made a charging motion, and all the bullets in front of his body were all blocked by an invisible defensive force field. Gui's figure transformed into a pitch-black residual shadow, rushing down at an incredible speed towards Zhang Yi's direction. Then surrounding Zhang Yi's under everything heaven giant boundary, he began to attack fiercely. The red-colored energy was like a long snake, crazily whipping everything under heaven, trying to find out Zhang Yi's cracks. On the other hand, Zhang Yi stood peacefully in place, and the divine refinement in his hands replaced the bullets. This time, it was no longer an energy bullet, but a solid holy silver bullet. Ping pong pong pong. Holy silver bullets shot on top of the defensive force field of the Gui that had turned into a residual shadow and fell down. A combat-type defensive force field is indeed different from that of an engineering-type mechanical life form. Not only can it block energy attacks, physical attacks can also be resisted. Zhang Yi frowned slightly. The other party's speed was fast, but by utilizing the second hand of time one could predict its next move. He opened the magazine and dumped out all the holy silver bullets before replacing them with a portion of Liu Karen's special bullet shield-breaking spear that was made to deal with the defensive force field. It was able to create a special energy field that would break the energy field of the defensive force field. One shield-breaking spear was sandwiched between every 3 holy silver bullets. The other spear just used pure energy bullet attacks. In this way, the attack launched by Zhang Yi at the same time was then able to produce 3 different effects. Zhang Yi changed his bullets in seconds, then quickly raised his gun to continue his attack. Gui was looking for a break in him, and he was also looking for a break in Gui. The blood-colored energy transformed into a long snake that kept on pumping at the border of everything under heaven. And Zhang Yi's 2 spears likewise poured out a raining rain of light, locking onto Gui's position and firing continuously. The shield-breaking spear impacted on top of Gui's defensive force field, releasing a reactionary energy field that directly caused holes to appear in its defensive force field. This also allowed the holy silver bullets and energy bullets to start passing along the loopholes and shooting at Gui's body. Ding 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 ding. The sound of metal clashing came from Zhang Yi's ears. His gaze sharpened, and the corners of his mouth lifted into a smile. The shield-breaking spear really did have an effect on Gui's defensive force field. Gui's attack stopped at once as he dodged and retreated to a place several kilometers away from Zhang Yi. Those bullets that had just been fired at his body, although they were only a very small portion, they still left white spots on his body. That was just the beginning, the next one is the real show, Zhang Yi said without haste. Earlier, he was just testing and would not use his full power. But now that he had found the opponent's cracks, he would use 100% of his power in the next attack. Gui's eyes, which were staring at Zhang Yi, finally became a hint of gravity. For the first time, he gripped the scorpion's calycery-like black strange blade with both hands, and the tip of the sword was aimed at Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi had just finished replacing Divine Refinement's bullets, holy silver bullets, with expensive and terrifyingly lethal nuclear bullets. Right at this moment, the second hand of time, he saw a phenomenon that made him dismayed. An invisible wave of energy erupted from the Gui's sword, crashing into the top of his everything under heaven. And immediately afterward, his dimensional gate shook as if a stone had been thrown into the surface of a lake.